After a lot of testing, we now have a definitive answer as to if peacekeeping talents and other peacekeeping buffs work against Behemoth. Hi everyone, my name is Zoras, not Casuals, and for those of you who have watched my previous video where I talked about this in details, we tested some of the talents for peacekeeping against Behemoths, and to many people's surprise, some of them actually worked. Now, in particular, Duet, this talent, as well as Fighting Spirit, this talent, do work against Behemoth. Now, this is confirmed multiple times. My entire video about this, which I will put in the description below, as well as in the card at the end of the video. Now, I did a lot more testing using Lilia against a Behemoth. Every time I'm going against a Behemoth, I'm summoning an Elite Behemoth because those are the hard version and they are really the only ones that pose a challenge in the long run. So, of course, I tested this skill, the Blazing Inferno, as well as this talent here, and this talent here, as well as this talent here. So the conclusion is that absolutely nothing works other than Duet and Fighting Spirit. Everything else does not work against Behemoth. I have done the testing in the way that I have fought against Behemoth here. I'll show you the reports. So this is a giant. So basically what I did is that with my Lilia, she was not expertise. I had only 3 skills in this one. And then what I did is that I fought the Behemoth with nothing changed. I removed the artifact. I removed everything. There was no secondary hero or a deputy, basically nothing at all. As you can see here, the report, she's by herself. And if you look at the Legion buff, it's a 3 here. So basically, in this battle log, you can see here, also the talents in this one I kept as is, just to see. And then you can see basically my damage is 117, and then it's always 117. And it basically just stays 117 basically the whole way. Now, of course, as I lose troop, it goes lower, but basically at the beginning, it's the auto attack. It would show instantly if the damage were to increase in the next fight. Now, the only thing I changed in the next fight, you'll see here, is that this is now at 4, and this is at 5 instead of 4, because when I put points, it went into there. So my damage goes up a little bit. It goes up 119, but this 119 is accounting for basically this, because it gives a little bit of attack bonus, basically, a good chunk. But if I was to gain 5% full peacekeeping damage bonus, the damage would go way higher, because 5% pure damage is, much higher than 2 damage per hit. And I tested this again in the future as well. I didn't save the report for that one, but when I expertise her, I tested it again, and the damage didn't go higher when I expertise on her auto attack, for example, because in here I was already at the max here, and then these abilities, there's a chance of the scorch happening, so I didn't increase anything, basically meaning that it doesn't work. And then during my last test here, I basically, in this one, the talents hadn't changed. I had all the nodes for peacekeeping damage bonus, and then in this, I had removed all of those. So just to show you here, I basically, for the first 2 tries, my talent has not changed at all. It was with this, and then it had this, and it also had this. I had a Duet the whole time and never changed. But basically, this would be 10% skill damage, this would be 5% damage, and this would be 3% damage. So, 8% damage plus 10% skill damage would be very, very noticeable if it was to apply, of course. And then, obviously, it didn't apply because if you'll see here, the battle log, my damage starts at 119, 119, 119. So the first few hits before I lose HP, it obviously goes down because my troop is dying, so I'm doing less damage. But basically the exact same damage as here, 119, 119, 119. And if you look deeper basically into the skill, the skill is a little bit further down here. I can find it here probably. The skill here, Flame of Vengeance, hit for 733 damage on this one. And then this one where I had all the bonus, which means that I should do more damage if it applies. It basically goes and it's like at 720. So it did less damage, the reason being that I had less units fighting, because obviously it's a little bit of RNG. But basically meaning that if it was a 10% damage bonus, we would notice right away. The fact that I did less damage with the peacekeeping nodes kind of shows basically that it doesn't work. I had also some friends and guildmates that also tested these things, and everybody came to the same conclusion. So just to recap, as I said in my previous video, this artifact here does not work at all. If it says peacekeeping damage on the artifact, it does not work against Behemoth. And here, if it doesn't say Behemoth, it doesn't work. An artifact like this, where Behemoth is mentioned, does work. An artifact like this, where Behemoth is not mentioned, doesn't work. Peacekeeping damage doesn't work. Peacekeeping damage here in the skills doesn't work. And peacekeeping damage, basically Legion deal more damage to Darklings and Dark Creature, also doesn't work. But this is not to say that the peacekeeping tree is not good, because Duet 100% does work, and Fighting Spirit 100% does work. And to prove you this again, even though I showed it in my previous video, I'll show you another report. So here is a battle against the Elite Hydra, which we beat a few days ago, and I will show you exactly what happened. If we go down to the place where Duet will trigger for the first time, obviously the chance is here. There you go, 407 damage from Duet. Now it says Hydra, so it's obviously not me trying to play some kind of trick. I am fighting the Hydra. The talent Duet did trigger, and it triggers for 407 damage. Now this is very significant because in this whole fight, it triggers, you know, half a dozen times and adds up to quite a bit of damage. Basically, my auto attack damage is 162. And my Duet does 407. It's almost 3 times my auto normal damage basically done for free. And it's a chance on triggering, so the chance is 10%, but it's, you know, it happens quite often because normal attacks happen once per second. These fights last minutes, like 6 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that, right? So not only this, but Fighting Spirit right here is a 10% chance to gain 100 rage when launching a normal attack. Again, this warning doesn't say Behemoth, but it still works because I am still fighting the Hydra. And 100 rage is huge. To cast a rage skill, it's 1000 rage. 10% of your rage bar being filled for free. 10% chance basically every second. 10% chance every second to fill 10% of your rage bar is a massive, massive buff. For example, if we go in the tree and look at other rage talents, look at this one in the skill tree. 10% chance to gain 50 rage. So this one is 2 times as good. It's twice as good, right? And once more here, we have another 10% to gain 10 rage. This at the max is again 50 rage, the same as this. These are all good, but the fact that this is available so early here, and the fact that Duet works, 10% to do 400. If you look at this skill, rage skills deal a little 60 damage. Like this is gonna add up to like 5, 6, 7 times this skill. 7 times the damage. This has to trigger 7 times to do the same damage as this one. And this is the last talent in the skill tree, while this is just the first talent. So you get attack here, which is not wasted because it's against everything. You get movement speed here, which doesn't really help, but movement speed can be very good in Behemoth fights because you do need to move out of a lot of stuff. Then you get a really, really good rage skill, and you get a really, really good damage factor skill. So in my opinion, this, like basically this exact route is a must if you're fighting Behemoths. It will give you the most value out of anything in this game. And then you can go, for example, another full tree. In my opinion, for Lilia, this is the best skill in the game for her in the skill tree. It basically gives you 8% damage until the battle ends. So once you reach 8%, you keep it the entire Behemoth fight. It's amazing. There's nothing better than this in my opinion. And of course, there's this one, which is really, really good, especially if you have Villain, which has high secondary damage, basically, high skill damage. And there's a lot of good stuff around here. I could also have gone for this, but I think this is quite good. Actually, much better. I think it's a lot of damage as well as this. There's a lot of really good stuff. In my opinion, once you get this, this is the best tree you can get for Lilia in Peacekeeping. And Guanwin also, I would use these exact talents when fighting against Behemoth because it's just so good. These two just have more value than any of this. Like, this is all decent. This is decent. Obviously, this is very good as well. But the fact that you can get this and this at the same time, there is nothing that beats it. So yeah, that's my conclusion, guys. If you have any questions or if you would like to talk about it a bit more, feel free to message me in game as well as in the comments on the YouTube. I'm happy to chat about it and show you more of my results. But I've done extensive testing previously as well, and I have seen reports from other people where it's kind of obvious nothing works on Behemoth except those 2 skills, and those 2 skills are worth getting. So if you're doing Behemoth and you're struggling, try and get your alliance mates who have these heroes to use these skills and see if it gives you a difference, an improvement. For some of my alliance members, it provided quite a big improvement. Even me using mages on the Hydra, which is a fight where it takes a lot less damage from ranged mobs. And as a mage player, I was able to rank in pretty high, even though mages are very low damage compared to archers or cavs, and they are nerfed on the Hydra fight. So I think these talents have a big part to play in this, and I really suggest that you guys experiment and share your results with me as well. Feel free to watch my other video, like I said, about Peacekeeping, where I test this in depth and I show even more reports about these skills working, as well as my other videos on Call of Dragons, where I show guides, tips, mistakes to avoid, as well as many guides about heroes, artifacts, and so on. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.